I don't know how often we acknowledge the ladies, but the ladies that are singing with the microphones, they sound great, don't they? We hear you, we don't see you, but we hear you. And I'm glad, I need to thank everybody who's not here today, because the more people there are, the bigger the pressure. So very, very happy if it's a little bit empty. You know, probably when you sleep, your worst nightmare is falling off a cliff or toes being nibbled by a rat. I don't know what your thing is. But preachers, well, at least me and Brian, I don't know if you do it. I get these dreams sometimes where there's this big preaching opportunity and I haven't prepared. I need to come stand in front of this podium. There's a massive crowd and I don't know what to say. So when there's a small crowd, we can wing it a little bit. So I've had a smashing 2 or 3 weeks. It's been phenomenal, smashing. We were at a school meeting and the sports coach for the kids' school next year, I had an interesting conversation with him. He told us that he just went to a seminar and he heard that apparently boys now, they see a decrease in their testosterone levels. And that was interesting for me. I haven't looked at the research, and he says, and the reason for that is because of single motherhood. Like, because there's an increase in single motherhood. And he explained, well, because what dads do is, dads sort of raise the levels of adventure in the family, right? Like, dad would allow the kid to climb on the roof, do risky stuff. That increases their testosterone levels, apparently. But if a kid grows up and he's only got mom as the authoritative figure, guess what happens? She's always shielding the kid, and so he never explores further than her limits. And isn't that the beauty about how God created the marriage, right? That you get this balanced sort of approach. So I listened to this guy, and I'm very excited about this because Alfreda's standing next to me, and I'm saying, I hope she hears that. I want boys with lots of testosterone. So that was the Thursday. The Friday, let me ask this question. I mean, what is more exciting than a jungle gym? I've got an answer. A moving jungle gym. What's more exciting than a trampoline? A trampoline on its side that can roll across the lawn with kids hanging onto it. So I'm sitting on the lounge and the boys are doing this, rolling this. They got a Ferris wheel, the moving trampoline jungle gym Ferris wheel. And Neo's midway in the air, Micah's rolling. He thinks it's super funny. Neo jumps off and he smashes his elbow into the earth and he breaks it. Now, I didn't know that. Obviously, I hear them cry every day. And I've never broken a bone in my life. Alfreda's never broken a bone in her life. So I schemed, we've got some serious genetics. There's no way. But Neo has got the ability to break all the rules. He's extremely lucky and extremely unlucky. We go play putt-putt. He gets 3 hole-in-ones in 9 holes. Who's ever done that? He doesn't even, he holds it like a hockey stick. He gets it right. And he's got extreme bad luck. He's been bitten by a parrot. We go visit people. The dogs run past us, they go bite him. He's been bitten by an ostrich. Anybody here been bitten by an ostrich? He's been bitten by an ostrich. I catch a snake. We play with it, it gets tame, we pass it around, it gets to him, guess what? Zaps him. And he's proud, he walks around saying, I've been bitten by a snake. So Neil runs with his elbow, like his arm like this, past me. I'm saying, Mom is like, what's going on? I'm like, no, it's fine. I've heard this cry like 10 times a day. Unless he cries for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, then you start noticing, well, there's a problem. So I said to Alfreda, let me show you there's nothing wrong with the arm. Boy, touch your nose. So he touches his nose. I said, the other arm, dude. So he's like, he's trying to lift this arm, he just can't lift it. And then I say, okay, it's hospitals. And you know how it goes with kids. Hospitals, it's bills, it's medical aid, it's claims, it's issues, it's sleeping over, it's COVID tests, surgery, he got surgery and all of that. So that was the Friday. The next week, now he's in a cast. I'm very disappointed that my jeans broke, by the way. Anyway, so the next Thursday, Alfreda says she's going to go to a place quickly and she takes him with her. And, you know, when your wife leaves the house and 10 minutes later phones you and you know it's a 20-minute trip, what do you think? You're like, oh, gata patata. So she phones and she says to me, babes, don't worry, not a big deal. You know, I was in a little accident, little car accident. The car had come from the front, she'd swerved to the left, and she smashed into a concrete block. Tire had popped. And I'm thinking my boy is in the front seat probably, and things like that. And don't worry, but that kept me busy the whole day. So now I've got a smashed car, smashed kid. Next day, Friday, I go to Oxford. Well, I go to Hillcrest to go look at the damage of the car. I had to put a new tire on, and you know, and I go to Oxford and Hillcrest just to get some boerewors. So I was very excited, going to have a relaxing afternoon, braai a bit of boerie. And I get to my car, and as I open the door, I see that somebody had smashed into my car. Who's ever had 2 car accidents in 24 hours? You have, brother. Yes. Then Friday night comes, and we're supposed to go to America for 2 weeks. Our flight is the 9th of December. And I hear the UK had just closed their borders because of Omicron. So we contact the people in the States, and we're like, we change our tickets to a week earlier, because if Europe closes, then probably America is going to close soon. So let's get there as quickly as possible, because we know at least we'll be able to get back. We change our tickets. 30 minutes later, Biden closes the border. And Omicron smashes our December plans, which actually I prefer the beach than to the Northern Hemisphere at Christmas, right? So here I have a smashed up kid, smashed up car from 2 sides, and a smashed up December, smashing 2 weeks. And in the thick of that, I get a message from a lady in the States. She lives in I've never been to her house, but she's got a lift in her house. Because apparently they're a little bit too weak to use stairs, so they built a lift into their house. She gets into the lift with her husband, the cable snap, they fall to the floor and they broke their tibias. And she's in hospital, and she sends me this message. So Raquel, that's her daughter, her condition is not getting better, it's getting worse. She's hallucinating today, and she's no longer able to empty her own bladder. I don't understand why God sees our suffering and he seems to stand in silence. So I'm like, what would I rather have now? A smashed up car and a kid with an elbow, or a bladder that doesn't work and hallucinations? It was humbling to hear what other people go through, and I get annoyed about my little insignificant things. I do know that he cares, and I do know that his timing is ultimate, but it's hard being a mom watching your kid go through this, which must be horrible. I'm standing in the gap, pouring my heart out to God, who hears, who is able, and I'm leaving it in his hands. And then she just closed off with a very simple sentence. She said, what else are we to do? And I thought that last sentence was so powerful, because it's self-answering. What are we to do when everything goes pear-shaped around us and stuff happens that we can't block or not let happen? What are we to do except trust the God of heaven and earth that he's going to take care of it? And there might be a reason. And so I'm preaching this morning to myself, because when you get smashed like this over and over again, we tend to get very discouraged, very down, and we want to give up. You know, and sometimes you get smashed down and you stand up again and you're excited and ready to take on whatever is coming, and then you get just smashed down on your knees again. Like this old boxer, James, they called him James Quick Tillis. He's becoming a really great boxer, and he came from Tulsa, Oklahoma. He arrived in Chicago, and he was so excited taking his boxing to the next level. He climbed out of the bus. He had 2 bags with him, put it down by his feet right in front of the Sears Tower. He looked up to the Sears Tower and he said, Chicago, I'm going to conquer you. And when he looked down, his bags were stolen. Which sounds like Johannesburg or Durban Central, right? I mean, how do you pick yourself up then again and still have the same attitude of, I want to conquer the boxing world? And sometimes we feel like that in life. I'm sure that as you sit here this morning, you're listening to me talk like this, and there's been some things that's been chowing at you. You've been smashed down this year, the last 2 years, last 3 years. Maybe you feel like your whole life has been like that. I want to commend you for being here. What else are you to do than to trust God? But when we talk about this word discourage, I want us to remember the word courage, because that's in the middle, right? And so discourage is to break courage. And so when I thought about this, I asked myself the question, but why would I need courage? Where does that come in? And I think we need courage because we're on a mission. Courage means nothing if you're not on a mission. The first text that came to my mind is Joshua chapter 1 verse 9, where God says to Joshua, do not be discouraged. Why was he saying that? Because they were on this side of the river, and on the other side of the river, there were giants waiting for them. God says, I want you to go kill them. He's thinking, oh my goodness, they're going to kill us. I've got to have courage because of this mission that I'm going on. And the question this morning is, what is the mission? And in this base, simple level, just in line with what we experience and see in the world, for everybody in the world, our mission is to live. That's our mission. Now, I'm not including yet the gospel and the preaching of the gospel and living a holy life. I'm just saying it's to live. God created the planet for us to live in, to enjoy it. He created marriage and relationships for us to enjoy our children, to enjoy food. He wants us to live. And what do we see has happened the last 2 years? Suicide rates have soared. Why? Because people, they don't have courage to just live anymore. So we all need courage. And the opposite of encourage, of discourage is encourage. In other words, breathe courage into somebody so that they can want to live. That should be the Christian's task in the world where we live. Paul says in 1 Thessalonians 5 verse 11, therefore encourage one another and build each other up as just in fact you are doing. That's why we shouldn't underestimate the value of these relationships that we have with each other. We give each other courage to live. If we listen to the wrong people and we listen to the wrong stuff on the television, it's going to be a downhill spiral, because there's a lot of stuff out there that's really designed to discourage us. You've seen this probably before, a saying that goes around on Facebook. Ships don't sink because of the water around them. Ships sink because of the water that gets in them. Don't let what's happening around you get inside you and weigh you down. And somebody has said the word discouragement, the DIS stands for the devil-inspired situation. God will never discourage you from living. And so when something breaks you down to the point where you say, you know what, I'm just going to take my own life, I'm going to go to the bottle, or I'm going to do whatever I can to get rid of this, it's not from God. It's Satan. And it's a slippery path down there. God will always encourage you. He will discourage you. He will discourage you to sin, but he will never discourage you to live. So William Ward explained discouragement so well, and when I read this, I was like, I felt so bad for ever being discouraged. Discouragement is dissatisfaction with the past, distaste for the present, and distrust of the future. It is ingratitude for the blessings of yesterday, indifference to the opportunities of today, and insecurity regarding strength for tomorrow. It is unawareness of the presence of beauty, unconcern for the needs of our fellow man, and unbelief in the promises of old. It is impatience with time. I'm there. It's immaturity of thought. And it is impoliteness to God. And when I saw that last, am I being impolite to God when I feel like I don't want to live? Yes, I am. Because he gave me life. And now I'm kicking his life in the face. I had a conversation with a gentleman yesterday who wants to grow closer to Christ. He said, what do you think about suicide? I said, well, God will never inspire you to kill yourself. It's impolite to not want to live. And it means that Satan has made an in-way, and one of the most powerful tools he uses is discouragement. He wants you to feel weak, feel down. So what we're going to do quickly is, I'm just going to read to you quickly. And I want you to ask the question this morning, like I asked myself the question with this lady. I'm not hallucinating. My bladder works, luckily. But I wouldn't want to wish that on anybody else. My problems are nothing compared to that. And if we go to the Bible and we say, which guy in the Bible do you think had a reason to be discouraged? I think we could probably talk about a few guys. But if there's one section of text that you know quite well that I'm going to read to us, 2 Corinthians chapter 11, Paul gives us at least 34 reasons to be discouraged. And let's look at what he says, and then I want to ask you, do you experience the same thing at this moment? So, verse 23, he says, I've worked much harder, been in prison more frequently, been flogged more severely, and been exposed to death again and again. 5 times I received from the Jews the 40 lashes minus 1. 3 times I was beaten with rods. Once I was stoned. 3 times I was shipwrecked. I spent a night and a day in the open sea. I've been constantly on the move. I've been in danger from rivers, in danger from bandits, in danger from my own countrymen, in danger from Gentiles, in danger in the city, in danger in the country, in danger at sea, and in danger from false brothers. I have labored and toiled and have often gone without sleep. I've known hunger and thirst and have often gone without food. I've been cold and naked. Besides everything else, I face daily the pressure of my concern for all the churches. Who is weak, and I do not feel weak? Who is led into sin, and I do not inwardly burn? He's just pointing out here a bunch of reasons why he could just go sit down and just not continue. I mean, wouldn't you think that somebody with this passion, God would give him an easy road? It's like, Lord, I'm your servant, I'll die for you, but yeah, man, please just take some of the pressure off. And God didn't. Why? Because this was a solid man. I want to give us 7 reasons, found 6 chapters earlier, in chapter 4, why I believe Paul managed discouragement so well. 7 things that we can apply. And we're not going to read the whole text. I'm just going to point you out some of the verses, and then we'll talk about them briefly. Number 1, never forget how much God loves you. The first verse says, therefore, since through God's mercy we have this ministry, we do not lose heart. And Paul is saying we've got this ministry. In the previous chapter, he spoke about this ministry that God has blessed him to be a part of. And now he says, we don't lose heart. Why? Because of his mercy. Why does God give mercy? Because he loves us. The first thing that happens when life goes pear-shaped around us is what? Where's God? Does God not care about me? And that's a slippery slope to go down. The moment that you say, well, God obviously doesn't care about me. I read an article about Martin Luther, not Martin Luther King Jr., Martin Luther, 15th century. Before he was going to stand and have to recant in front of the Catholic guys about his 95 thesis that he nailed to the wall, he went and spent some time in a distant castle. And they say that while he was there, he really struggled a lot. And he said that he was fighting with demons. Now, whether this was in his head or not, and he apparently took, at times, he would take his ink pot and throw it at these demons that are plaguing him. And he used to shout at them, Baptizatus sum. That's what he would shout the whole time. Baptizatus sum, which means, I am baptized. His verbal defense against demons was to shout at them, I am baptized. Why do you think he did that? He wasn't going to allow anything around him, the spiritual world or any circumstances, dictate to him that God does not love him. You see, because when you are in a covenantal relationship with God that started at your baptism, he loves you and he will keep his promises to you. And so what Martin Luther was saying, I will not allow anything to discourage me from my mission. Secondly, never fake it. Verse 2 says, rather we have renounced secret and shameful ways. We do not use deception, nor do we distort the word of God. On the contrary, by setting forth the truth plainly, we commend ourselves to every man's conscience in the sight of God. Nothing is more discouraging in this life. If you want to get discouraged, try to be someone else. And if you want to get discouraged, try to do or become that what everybody else wants you to be or become. Why? Because not even God can do that. You will fail. Not even God can keep everybody happy. Number 3, remember that it is not about you. Verse 5 says, for we do not preach ourselves, but Jesus Christ is Lord, and ourselves as your servants for Jesus' sake. The more self-focused I am in this life, the more discouraged I will be. When you think everything is about you, then you take everything personally. You'll never be happy. You got to kill the self. You can't discourage a corpse. The problem is that many of us Christians, we still walk around and we're alive. We haven't really died. It's not about us. Number 4, relax in your limitations. But we have this treasure, verse 7, in jars of clay to show that this all-surpassing power is from God and not from us. And what Paul is saying here, I'm limited. I'm just a vessel. I break easily. The message is powerful, but I am pretty much weak. When you try to be Superman and you think that you can do more than you actually can, you're going to discourage yourself because you're going to fail. It's like a good example is getting debt. If you go get a loan that you actually can't really afford, what's going to happen? You're going to get the loan, get the money, you're going to struggle to pay it back. And if you can't pay it back, what's going to happen? You're going to get discouraged. So you've got to watch your limitations. Number 5, use your pain to help others. And this for me is the most powerful. Verse 8 to 9, it says, we are hard pressed on every side, but not crushed, perplexed, but not in despair, persecuted, but not abandoned, struck down, but not destroyed. And then in verse 15, he explains it. He says, all of this is for your benefit. He says, we are willing to be crushed. It's fine. And the reason why we keep going ahead is because of you, because of others. Humans can handle an enormous load of pain if they know it has a purpose. Often the reason why we can't handle our struggles is because it's about us. We're not doing what we're doing in service of others. We're doing it for ourselves. Number 6, take time for renewal. Verse 16, therefore we do not lose heart. Though outwardly we are wasting away, yet inwardly we are being renewed day by day. What is the easiest time to get discouraged? When you are tired. We need to rest. It's a good time to rest now, by the way. December is here. Don't add more work to your plate. I was hoping you're going to work less this morning on Brian. You did everything. Lastly, number 7, stay focused on eternity. For our light and momentary troubles are achieving for us an eternal glory that far outweighs them all. So we fix our eyes not on what is seen, but on what is unseen. For what is seen is temporary, but what is unseen is eternal. And I think that's very simple. As long as you keep your eyes focused on what's happening in the world, the politics and all of that stuff, you're going to get discouraged. Look above it, where God is seated. I want to conclude. Don't be discouraged. Because number 1, you are not dead. Ecclesiastes 9 verse 4 says, anyone who is among the living has hope. Even a live dog is better off than a dead lion. If there's one time in your life that you're allowed to be discouraged, it is if you don't make heaven and you are already dead. But as long as you're alive, you don't have a reason to be discouraged. Secondly, don't be discouraged because you are not deaf. You can still hear the word of the Lord in the land of the living like today. Exodus 6 verse 9. So Moses told the people of Israel what the Lord had said, but they refused to listen anymore. They had become too discouraged by the brutality of their slavery. They allowed their slavery to discourage them from hearing the word. Sometimes we are like them. Life is hard. We feel down to the point that we don't even hear the word of God anymore. But the word of God is our life. And it gives us hope, and it gives us faith, and it gives us a future. And as long as you can hear it, there is hope. So, we live in a dark world. People are discouraged. I ask you today to be a light. When Brian spoke about memorials and graveyard, what do you call those things? There was an inscription found on a graveyard. There is not enough darkness in all the world to put out the light of one small candle. And that was on the gravestone of a baby. If we can just each one of us be a little bit of a light in this dark world, we can give people encouragement. I'll leave you with the last verse. But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint. Shall we stand and sing the last song?